leadership.
Do you have differences with India on the issue of Ukraine?
Look, we've been very clear on where we stand with Ukraine, and we just announced a $3 billion additional security assistance to the country to make sure that the people are continuing to fight for their freedom. We have been, it's not just us, you see that with our allies and partners. You see a very unified NATO and they are unified because of the leadership of this president. You're seeing that NATO is going to expand by 2 more countries. So this shows the strength in the West and how much we have come together in supporting Ukraine. And so we've been very clear on where we stand. It is important to make sure that when a country is fighting for their freedom, fighting for their democracy, for their sovereignty, that we support that. Okay.
Thanks, Karine. About the student loans, how can the country afford such a massive handout?
Yeah, well, Ambassador Rice said that she's happy to have that discussion. I'm happy to have this discussion as well. Look, if you look at what this president has done, if you look at the end of this coming end of the fiscal year, $1.7 trillion that we have brought down the deficit. That matters. That matters. And if you look at the Inflation Reduction Act, it's going to add another $300 billion. It's going to bring down the deficit.
300 to 900 billion dollars extra. So you can do that and not.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. What we are trying to do here, we are doing this responsibly. You heard directly from the president. This is something that is going to be important for middle-class Americans. When you think about 90% of the folks who are going to actually benefit from this are making $75,000 or less, and you think about what Republicans did just a couple of years ago, they signed off on a $2 trillion $3 trillion tax cut for the wealthy and did not provide any way to pay for that. And that, again, here's what we have done. Here's
a lot about how much it might cost, it might not cost. Who is paying for this?
What we are saying is the work that this administration has done, the work that the Democrats in Congress has done, is actually there, and you see that the 1.7 trillion deficit deduction that you see is going to benefit us in being able to do something for the middle class, to do something for the middle class. This is about doing something for people who make less than $125,000. $1.7 trillion. That's what we've been able to do.
But when you forgive debt, you're not just disappearing debt. So who is paying for this?
And then I'll give you the second part. We lifted the pause, right? We're going to lift the pause at the end of this year, which is going to matter, right? Which is going to offset a lot of what we're doing as well. When you think about the $4 billion that's going to go back into as revenue back into this process of folks paying right their college tuition, that matters as well. So we are doing this in a smart way. We're doing this in a way that's going to be effective. We're doing in this a way that keeps to the president's promise on giving people who need some breathing room, who needs some breathing room. I just laid out for you. No, Peter, I just laid out for you how we're seeing this process and why this matters. Again, I just laid out because of the work that we have done in the economy, because of the American Rescue Plan, because of the Inflation Reduction Act, and because all of this work that this president has done has brought down our deficit by $1.7 trillion, unlike what Republicans did when they added to our deficit $2 trillion and did not care at all or thought about how this was going to be paid for. They did not actually put in a process or think about how we're going to do this in a smart way. This is not how this administration is doing it. Again, we are happy to continue to have this conversation, but I'm going to move around. Go ahead, April.
Karine, I'm sorry, she said April. Karine, so what I need to find out, the school system for 2022-2023 is already beginning to see cracks. School teachers, there are school teacher shortages in some states. There are attacks already on some kids who are in the LGBTQ community. There's a concern about crime. is the president working with the Secretary of Education like he did on the student loan debt forgiveness to talk about trying to ensure the safety, the equity, and just the success of the 2022-2023 school year?
Yeah, this is something that the Secretary has talked about, Secretary Cardona specifically. He's been on a few networks and was asked recently, I believe this past Sunday, some Sunday shows, and asked about the upcoming school year, was asked about the teachers, was asked about the equity piece. If you think about the American Rescue Plan and you think about what that did, the billions of dollars that that provided to make sure that school districts were able to rehire teachers, especially what we saw was happening with the pandemic, where teachers left the field, where we saw schools shut down because of the pandemic, and because of the work that this president did, because of the work that congressional Democrats did, we were able to get those schools open. Jurisdictions and school districts were able to hire teachers.